Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Productions studios. We have another edition of Tips from TTO with our good friend from the tax office, Megan Wallander. Megan, glad you're with us today.
Good morning.
And we've got some more stuff coming up, end of year. Lots of kookiness happening around the world. Lots of business. I want to say this, and I mean this seriously. I've known Megan. We work partners with the tax office, and I know there's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of people dealing with a lot of different issues. We have some very difficult issues we are dealing with within the United States of America right now.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm very serious about this because I think it's very important that we as people, we as small business owners, micro business owners, people that rely on our businesses that we've created ourselves.
You rely on yourself. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That we don't just go away.
No, that we stand up and we speak out for not only your business but your families. It is very important that you stay involved and you stay knowledgeable of what's coming down the pipeline.
Yes. And, you know, there's news coming out all the time. Yes. In New Jersey, a few weeks ago, I heard that a third of these small businesses, a third of the small businesses has closed. They've just closed, gone, will never come back. I've heard that it's getting more and more and more like that, 60,000 businesses here and there. I feel fortunate that we've here in St. Charles County that our leaders, they've been active on the recommendations. They've been active on these things. Agree, disagree. There are certain things I disagree with, certain things I agree with. That's up for debate. I think that there are many things that you can talk about and what we're trying to do. But in the end, they have allowed the Constitution to be followed.
To be followed, yes.
and allowed small business, they've allowed businesses to continue to, deal with it the best way they can. I'm sure there's still businesses still struggling.
Yes, I think they've listened because there have been St. Charles, spoke up. There's been a lot of, council meetings and businesses coming together. And I believe they've done a decent job at listening to small businesses and taking that feedback saying, hey, we can do this safely. We're not going to shut down. So I think there's been a very cohesive where it hasn't really affected St. Charles as we're seeing in different counties such as St. Louis County, Jefferson County, some of your bigger areas that we're seeing some of those effects. So St. Louis County, we feel for you guys. We really do.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this because this is me. This is we're talking opinion here. And I believe you can say this. I know everybody will go crazy on you, YouTube and all of them.
We're still entitled to opinions.
Yeah. The one thing that I will say is, no, we're not epidemiologists. I didn't go to school for doctors and this and that, but can read. Read a lot from the CDC. The only question I have, there's one question I have. Why didn't we wear masks? Why weren't all this mandated in 2009 under the Barack Obama administration with H1N1? That's all I got.
It's a good question.
If you can answer that for me, please do. Politics is a tragic way to deal with a pandemic. We'll just put it that way.
It is, and offers to where we take focus off of, yes, is there a virus going around? Yes, absolutely. But we have allowed the political side to overstep into the livelihoods of families and children.
Yep.
I was listening today on the way to work what the statistics, 1 out of every 4 teenagers from the age of 9, I believe they said, don't quote me, 18, the suicide rate. 1 out of every 4 children are committing suicide because of the shutdowns and the isolation. So the lasting effects, I think are severe, and we don't take that into consideration. So when we talk about small business, the effect that it is having on small businesses, at Brian French and REP and the tax office, we're very fortunate that it hasn't affected us to that extent, but we understand the severity of small businesses and the effect that it's having. So that's why, we every other week we're here trying to give as many tips as we can to help you keep going, and then to not sit back and allow this to take away your passion and shut down your business. Keep going, put those practices in place. As we're going to talk here in a minute, put that budget in place, because you don't have to shut down. There's going to be options for you and way for you to move through this in 2021.
And this is the biggest thing. I mean, as Megan said, so as we finish up, we wanted to say this. I think it needs to be said. These are things, I'm not afraid of it. We understand that there are ramifications on every side of it. We don't make light of any of it. The seriousness of what we're dealing with has far-reaching implications, and we know what's going on in our country. But today, we need to talk about these things. You need a budget. If you've never done a budget as a small business owner, micro business owner, in the sense of really drilling it down, you may have said, I'm not going to spend over this much money.
Right, in this area or this area.
I'm going to do this. But how many times have you actually sat down and went through assets, liabilities, looked at, what do we got here? Capital,
your actual income, what's coming in on a monthly standpoint, or even a weekly standpoint when you are on a tight budget.
Right.
That's what we do recommend is taking a look at that every week, and that's how your bigger corporations, they look at their budgets on a weekly standpoint, what their revenue was for a weekly, and then the monthly standpoint. So putting those great practices in place really help your business succeed.
Right. And income, operating money coming in.
That money coming in.
Your cost of goods sold.
Yes.
If you're producing something, what are your cost of goods sold? What does that mean? And of course, just the basic, I think everybody know expenses.
That's the one that gets, it can get out of control very easy.
Right.
If you're not managing your budget on even a monthly standpoint, your expenses are the ones that can run away like a freight train really quick.
And here's the thing, we say, so if we're starting a budget, can we do it just in a very basic sense? Do
Absolutely.
we need to have all these things here, Megan?
I do believe that a great foundation starts with, breaking it down. There are 6 basic categories for a real just basic budget. When you talk about, you want to start with, what do I actually own as a business owner? Your assets. What do you own? Do you have, are you delivery service? Do you have trucks? Do you have a property that you're running your business out of? Computers, furniture, all of that stuff plays a piece. That plays into, your capital, that piece of the puzzle. And then the second one that you want to kind of break down is your liabilities. What do you owe? Do you have a small business loan? Do you have a credit card that you utilize just for business expenses? So that plays into that one right there.
Let me ask you then, when you're talking about assets there like that, you have then dealing with depreciable and appreciable assets too,
depreciation. That is actually more onto the tax side, where grade comes into the piece of the puzzle.
Right.
So
but it's still there.
It's still there. So that plays into it, and that's where you really want to at the end of the year, what you can write off. Say you you purchased a a truck, you might have a liability with that, but there's a certain percentage of write-off there. So tracking that throughout the year can allow you some breaks at the end of the year. So that's why it's so important to have the foundation in place for your accountant at the end of the year, because they might be able to save you some money.
There you go. And so when you're talking about liabilities, that's, I know people, what comes to mind for a liability?
A small business loan. So that is money that you have borrowed, and that's a liability that you are paying back, whatever, a 3-year, 5-year, whatever you set up with your banking or your lender. That's a liability. It's what you owe, and keeping track of those things is very important, because again, at the end of the year, you need to make sure that you've paid off what you budgeted to pay off,
Right.
what you put into your budget, XYZ.
And so when you're talking now the one that I think is interesting, because you have it here, capital equity, what you have invested in your company.
Yes.
How many people really think about how much money, if they pulled out their wallet and they were at the store and they were like, oh, I didn't have, oh, well, I'll do that.
I'll just swipe my personal
Right.
card. And a lot of, I can honestly, we see it a lot at the end of the year. Oh, I think I put, this amount in, or, I think I put 5,000 in here. We see that a lot. So that is something that's huge, that you want to make sure that you're tracking what personally you have put into your business, because that makes a huge difference in the big scope of your business at the end of the year.
Yeah, because that's money.
It's your money.
You're investing in that.
Yes.
And it doesn't go against actually what you draw.
No, it does not. No,
So that's a big.
It's a huge, yes.
Yes. So, you're the company actually, with capital equity like that, first, if you're taking money back out, it actually goes against that, because the company owes you that money.
The company owes you money, yes. It's a different breakdown than you taking out a payroll check, or depending on what type of company you are. If you're incorporated, you're an LLC, you're a sole proprietor. It depends on, and you would need to get with your accountant or your tax guy to make sure that you're following those guidelines, because every company is set up a little bit different, whether you're allowed to take a payroll check, XYZ. So that's a little bit different than draw or a payroll check.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, of course, income, it's pretty straightforward.
It's money coming in, revenue.
So the one here that I think is curious is cost of goods sold, or cost of goods.
Yes. Known as COGS. A lot of accountants call it
COGS?
that. The first time I heard that.
Cost of goods sold.
Yeah, COGS.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's cost of
Greg
goods
said
sold.
that, and I looked at him. I was kind of puzzled. I said, "What are you talking about?" And he kind of looked at me, kind of puzzled. He goes, "Cost of goods." I'm like, "Oh, I've never heard it called that." So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Acronym.
An acronym. Yes, absolutely.
COGS.
And accounting has a lot of them.
So what goods, supplies, material, so what are costs of goods sold?
So you're purchasing. So and keep it basic. You have a little storefront shop, and you sell T-shirts, and you sell candles and this and that. It's what you're bringing in, what that costs for you to purchase that and to put it on your shelf, and that is huge, because that can go to the thing that comes to mind is theft. You're paying for something to come in. If you're not tracking it, if there's not some type of spreadsheet to keep track of what you have coming in versus what you're selling, theft can get a little on the. It can.
Waste.
It can. Waste. It can run away from you very quickly. So cost of goods sold is very important. Breakage, things dropping. It's very important to keep track of that. All of these are very important, but in their own specific way.
Right.
I don't want to make assets more important than. All 6 of them are very important to a very successful business year and a budget.
So the last to do we have is the basic one.
Yes, it is
and
a very
this
basic one.
is the
yes.
one that kind of expenses.
Expenses, yes.
What is an expense?
An expense is anything from office supplies, your rent, your auto payments, your water bill. It's the biggest account as a whole. It has a lot of categories. It can be very overwhelming, but you just have to remember, anything that you spend on your business is a potential tax deduction at the end of the year. This account is very, very important because it's a big one. So a lot of things, play, uniforms. If you purchase anything for your storefront, whether it's you want to paint your windows with a big promotion you're doing. That's how tedious it can be. So it can be a little overwhelming. But yeah, expense, absolutely. Software, computers.
And you have two different categories here. You have a fixed expense.
Yes.
That doesn't change, and a controllable expense. Correct?
Controllable. Yes. Something that's going to be a little bit on the variable side. So your fixed expenses, your
Would be
rent,
rent.
your not necessarily a car payment. If you do have a car payment, that would go into your liability because that's a loan payment. But your rent, a lot of people do budget billing for their utilities to maintain that consistent across the board. So those are your fixed costs. So that's what you want to start with first. Insurance. Yes,
Yeah.
You're going to start with those first. Put that in your Excel sheet. Your rent. That your salaries, if you're as a business owner, if you're taking a salary, that's going to be a fixed cost. And we highly recommend that as a business owner, you do take that, and make that a fixed cost so you can budget for that. And then, your variable ones, your office expenses from 1 week to the next, you might need, $50 here or $60 here. That's going to be your more fluid expenses. But yeah, expenses can be a little overwhelming, but don't let it stress you out.
Yeah. So those are some things that we've got today for you to talk about when you're looking at a budget. These 6 categories, they're important to your business.
They are, yes.
Very important. Look, if you want to take the time, you can go and investigate. That's what we're here for. We love to talk about business. We love to talk about micro business.
Yes.
Because these are things that
they affect us. We're in the process of working on our budgets.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
You got 2021 coming up. It's budget time. We're preparing for that. And the variables, what is income going to look at? I think that's a huge one, because we were also thrown off from second quarter
to now.
Yeah, I mean really
businesses
is
are
the
still being
fourth
affected.
quarter.
Yeah, we're in the fourth quarter. It's not going to be much different. So, income's going to be hard to, and that's where you're going to want to start. What you realistically think that you're going to do for 2021.
Yeah.
You've got to have a starting point, and your revenue is your starting point in knowing how much you're going to be able to spend or not spend for your business.
And that is key. That's key, because that'll, if you can start there and understand that expenses and all the stuff there, it'll give you that platform to help your business. Then it's easier if you can get a loan, if you do go that route.
Yes.
It's an easier scenario that says, I can pay that back. I've got this here to keep everything moving. So a budget is so important.
It is very important. I don't take it lightly. And we talk about budgets a lot here. And sometimes I feel like we sound like a broken record, but it is so vital to a successful business in general. Whether, you're Amazon, I can't even imagine what their budget looks like in a year versus, our budgets or whatnot. But no matter what size you are, or no matter what you have going on, it'll really help. And especially with, what's going on, we don't see... hopefully it changes within the next, going into the next year. We really hope and pray that it does, and we can see businesses opening back up. But if it doesn't, this will help you kind of center yourself in and focus on what you can control.
The other part of that too is if you haven't done a business plan in the past, or if you've kind of attempted and just kind of thrown stuff, take a few minutes and really look at that. Read through some of that stuff. It gives you an idea of thought to, where am I going here? What am I looking at for 2021? I think it's so important to look at what's coming for 2021. To know how we're going to deal with these things. There's so much up in the air.
Yes.
Whether, what administration's going to be there.
Right.
Everything's
so fluid right now.
So, hey, you know what? As we're finishing up here today, smash that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment, please. If you have a question about these things, please leave a comment, like it, and, Megan is available. You can go to thetaxoffice.com, shoot her an email, you can contact them through the website on their contact page. There's great resources. We're going to have this stuff.
Yes, yeah. So all of this, what we talked about, we've got some definitions for you. We've got some resources where you can go and look at this stuff. So that's going to be on the website. So take a look at it. Definitely. And if you have questions or you have, some thoughts or whatnot, please. I am at the office. We are in full swing right now, getting ready for the 2021 season, for tax season. Greg is he's studying up, and so we are there. We are there.
So, look, folks, go to the Resource Center, check this stuff out. We'll have another show just before the beginning of the year in 2 weeks. So until then, everybody have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy your family.
Yes.
And all that stuff. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.